Welcome to the TM Group's demonstration of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central and Sales Professional Solutions. This is a recording of an actual demonstration we did for a distribution company. And as such, we have edited the video to remove any client-specific information. But you can hear our consultants and sales staff's responses to questions as well as the demonstration live as we presented it. We hope you find this educational, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below.
I'm going to focus right now on the CRM side of it. On any email under your ellipses, if you click on that, you can notice there's a Dynamics 365 tab, or that's actually launching the Dynamics 365 CRM application. So what it does at first is it kind of says, okay, this email is coming from Janelle. We notice that Janelle is already within our system, so we're going to kind of pull the information for her accordingly. But you also see that the email itself is not tracked currently. But you do see that there are some stuff going on with Janelle already. It looks like there's a task out here and possibly an open opportunity out here. So again, it's kind of pulling in some information for you from CRM that would be particularly related to this person sending the email. So from here, you can do multiple things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to track this email by clicking on the ellipsing. So you can always track it without regarding. So regarding, it tells the system, where do you want to track it? What record in CRM do you want to track it at? But also from here, if you click on the plus sign, you can create a new record. I could create a new lead for her. I could also just go ahead, I know that this is somebody I'm definitely going to do business with. I've been talking to him on the phone, so I can go ahead and I can create an account. I can create an opportunity. If this was somebody, a customer of ours that maybe had an issue and I was using cases, I could create cases. This list is configurable to whatever type of records you want the user to be able to create. So maybe some users, you only want them creating leads. Other users, you might say, they have a little more security, so we'll allow them to create accounts in the system. So again, that's completely up to your organization. You can also create follow-up activities. So I could create an appointment from here. I could create an email or a phone call from here. I can create a task. My case is, since they want me to get a hold of them, I'm going to go ahead and create a phone call. I'm going to say, now, unfortunately, this call is coming from Janelle and going to Janelle, but they're two different Janelles. So we'll say this is the TM group one. And I can have multiple recipients, but I'm only going to have the one right now. Go ahead and check mark that. And then I could go on and I could add a description of what I wanted to talk about. I could put a due date on here. So I'll go ahead and say I'm going to do this tomorrow. And we're going to call them at 9. I could set a priority. And again, these fields here are also configurable. So this phone call record that I'm creating, I can adjust these fields and so that they are whatever is most relevant to your organization. We're going to go ahead and here too. And then we're going to go ahead and save and close this. So this is actually creating a record in the Microsoft CRM application. You can also see that down here, it added this task to my list of things going on with Janelle. So again, with any email in the system, you can go ahead and do these different types of things. Any questions about the Outlook application? Okay, so you actually want to kind of look at this record. So if you notice, I just clicked on the name under contact. So now I'm looking at Janelle's contact information. Now, unfortunately, this one isn't filled out very good, but if her address was in here, you would see this Big Maps address would show up. As you scroll down, you get to this timeline section. So these are where all the activities like with Janelle. And again, remember, this is configurable. So if you prefer the timeline to be closer to the top, we could definitely move that up and put the timeline up here. Yep. So as you go back to this first screen, remember how I told you these activities were showing up? Notice this last one says opportunities. Right now, there's only one for her, but if there were multiple ones in here, you could click on any of them and open them. They'd show up just like that. So Janelle's a contact, but let's say Janelle was an account. Actually, let's just jump right into the accounts and I can kind of show you. As an example, this Best Company is an account. This is fully integrated with the ERP system, Business Central. You notice a section over here on the right-hand side called Dynamics 365 Business Central. These are statistics that are coming right from Business Central. So you see I have an account number, I have their current AR balance, tells me the last time this was modified. tells me what their outstanding orders. And again, this information is configurable. So what I'm looking at right now is the Dynamics 365 app. That's what I'm showing you on the screen, in the middle of the screen, that kind of looks like a telephone. So I just opened up the Dynamics 365 app. Now this is a demo environment, so the statistical information has not been integrated because this is not the environment that you're seeing on my desktop. But if it was, as you scroll through here, you can see I got addresses, and I could put that information from the Business Central application on this form.
Maybe I can kind of interject here too. And
Yeah.
what your reps would be doing is they would, if they're in their car, they're going up to the customer, they would pull up the app just like Janelle has up right here. They're probably going to work in the app because they're going to have all the information for that particular contact under that company. Any activities, you'll be able to see all that information and data in the app itself. And within the app, you can actually go in when that rep goes into the store and starts talking to, Tom Smith. They can actually create a new opportunity right from the app. So all the functionality that's available to them, to create those entities or to create those transactions is available in the app. So I guess I would envision your reps as they're going and doing their route and meeting with other customers, they'll probably be operating in the app. But like Janelle was showing, for Outlook purposes, hey, if you're one of your reps received an email from Tom Smith, who he met with yesterday, and Tom says, hey, I want to go ahead and move forward with that quote that we talked about yesterday, and your rep had already entered it into the system, your rep creates the opportunity in the app and then leaves and says, all right, cool, we'll wait for you to let us know if you want to move forward with it.
So we're going to actually jump into the system now. We're going to kind of start out with dashboards. So and again, this is also available on the mobile app. They can have their dashboards on the mobile app. So everything I'm showing you on this desktop version is available on the phone. What I'm showing you here is just a dashboard. The way we set this up is we kind of look at two types of dashboards. Dashboards for the salespeople, the users, what do I have to do today, this week, this month, versus dashboards for like a management level, what's going on in the company. So this particular one is set up for the user. I kind of set it up to show some activities. What activities am I working on? What are my open opportunities? What are my open leads? Who are my active accounts? This is kind of my open opportunities. So these two are related, but this I kind of put it in a funnel from more of a pipeline standpoint. And then what opportunities have I closed? What are my top customers? More informational type things. This dashboard is 100% configurable. This was just to kind of give you an idea. And this would be a way for the users to come in every day and start working. So I can click on start, emailing out or finishing up my activities, completing these tasks, these phone calls, emails, take a look at what's going on in my opportunities. Do I need to create new tasks, new follow-ups, different things like that. So as you see, these are interactive. So all I had to do was click on it and it went ahead and opened the data form or opened that record for me. The graphs I can also change. So if I wanted to dive into this orange section, which is the develop, say, oh, well, what opportunities makes up this develop section? I just have to click in here. What do I want to look at? I want to go ahead and look at and then I say I want to see it in this graph. Now, if I'm looking at just the developed data, but I'm looking at it from what accounts they are and then the amount for each account. I'm going to quickly just show you the dashboard that we would set up for kind of a management level. So again, I'm kind of looking at this bigger picture, what's going on for the organization. Again, kind of showing you a pipeline, some open opportunities, but it's more graphical than a list of activities and stuff I need to work on. But again, you're kind of seeing more of a graphical picture of what's going on with the organization as opposed to a list of activities or a list of opportunities that me as an individual has to work on. The dashboard is the easiest thing to create because all you do with a dashboard is I take my views and my charts I've already created, and all I'm doing them here is putting them on to display. Even though you might not see it on a dashboard, the view or the chart might already exist. And even if it doesn't, that's part of what we do as the TM group is we create the system dashboards for you before you go live. So when you go live, you have what you already need out there. Now, that's not to say that users can't go in and make a few adjustments if they choose to, but we will give you the basis that you've decided as an organization your company needs. All right, so now we're just gonna jump over to accounts. Again, we kind of talked about this a little bit already, but my main thing I wanted to point out here was this integration for Business Central. And again, as mentioned earlier, you're bringing in the basic AR information so that the users have access to it, whether it's on their phone or whether they're on the desktop version. You can scroll here and see, all kinds of different information that the salespeople would, need or want during the sales process. The other information, this is integrated, so it's, basically what is your account name, address, phone, all of that basic stuff. But we're also tracking those activities at the account level too. So again, that list of stuff that's happening, whether it's a call or a phone call or an opportunity, those are all continued to be tracked on this timeline for every account in the system. Again, we're kind of limited on times here, but you can see kind of the same idea when it comes to leads. The only thing different with leads is it kind of distinguishes the person versus the company. So I know that you sell both to people and organizations, but obviously if you're just selling to a person, you would put that data in versus selling to an actual company. And as you convert as you convert a lead, this information in the timeline does travel on to the account and contact information. On the lead, they also have this process bar. This is basically your stages of your sales process. If you guys, have a documented sales process, we could duplicate that in this process bar. And then under each of the stages, just some basic information that you would expect your team to be able to fill in for reporting purposes before they can move to the next stage. Once the lead is converted to an opportunity or qualified for an opportunity, we'll just jump to an opportunity here. The one thing that's good about here is from the opportunity, I can go ahead and create my quote. And again, you can do this on your phone. So the users could do this on their phone too. I kind of already started a quote here, but you can see I could just create a new quote right from here. And then it's going to show that it's related to this opportunity. All right. Let's jump over to the quote. So on this, just added one inventory. So as I add this inventory here, so I'm saying that there was 5,000 on hand. I need 500 for this particular order, so I'm good to go. So as they select these products, they'll be able to see that number there. So once I have my quote information all in here, and I just kept this simple at one product, but you can see the opportunity that it came from. I can see the customer that I'm working with. I have a quote ID here. I gave it a name, some basic information, some shipping information, terms information, all of that stuff. That can be fed from the actual account if this information is kept on the account, or it could be entered in manually, again, depending on if it stays the same for that account every time. So from this point on, let's say the customer called, yep, that's a great, we like the price, we want to go ahead and accept this quote. So from CRM, what the salesperson would do is they would go ahead and they would activate the quote. Once the quote is activated, this says it's successful, and it also shows me on the bottom that it's active. The quote does become read-only, so nobody could make any adjustments to it. And then let's say now I'm ready to send this over to Business Central, the accounting system. All I have to do is hit create order. It's just saying, now that you've created the order, we're going to win the quote. We're going to win it on this date. We're also going to close the opportunity as one because we don't need that open anymore. And that they're actually going to calculate the quote with the actual numbers, which is what we want it to do. So we're going to say, okay. Any product, inventory, pricing, all of that is kept in Business Central, and CRM is just reading it from Business Central. So now I have this order. It's here. I can briefly take a minute to update any information. I'm just going to say I have a requested delivery date on Monday the 1st. That's the only thing I'm going to change, only because that wasn't available at the quote level. We could make that available at the quote level so the owners or the users don't have to make any adjustments if you prefer that. So now I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then I'm going to send it over to Business Central by hitting this submit order. So once I hit submit order, it's actually sending the data over to Business Central. And then the accounting software takes it from there. And this is where I turn it over to Brian, unless you have any other questions.
All right, so just like Janelle said, the order that she created in CRM has been brought over into Business Central. Now we're in the ERP side of things. So typically how your organization works, or how typical organizations work, I should say, our salespeople, our marketing people, they're all interacting with the activities within CRM. And then it's really up to our financial and distribution people to work within the ERP solution. So, and we do have that integration, as you're seeing here. This was the document that was created by Janelle from CRM. It now lives in Business Central. So we're looking at the West Michigan Healthcare sales order. Here's the item, the tempered sapphire tile. And it has the requested date that she has on here of 3/1. So all that information now sits in the ERP system. And now here's where our distribution aspect of things takes place, right? So we're looking at the item. So now that we have that item in there, or the sales order in the system, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the features within the distribution aspect of it. So I'm going to start by actually looking at that item. So I'm going to go ahead and close our sales order here a moment and get this out of the way, and I'll jump over to items. So from the items, I want to just kind of show you the behind the scenes look of the item and how we might inquire about, what do we have available? Do we need to order inventory? So here's my inventory list. And I can look at the list in a few different ways. Right now, I'm just looking at it in just the list fashion, but I can actually change how this looks. I can look at it in a tile fashion, and that gives me a little bit more imagery with the item. So I've got my tempered sapphire tile here. You can see I've got the image. What's nice is it gives me the ability to just quickly look at what's on hand. So here's my inventory on hand. Here's my price for that particular item. I can drill into it from here. And if I'm highlighted the item as well in the list view, you can see the side panel over here refreshes and just shows the information regarding that item. So I can quickly, at a glance, look through the details of the item. I've got my minimum and maximum quantities on hand, my reorder point, those types of things. I can see, again, the unit cost, our profit margin on this particular item, those types of things. And then when I drill into the actual item, we get into a lot more detail, and then we can really inquire as to what activities have taken place on this particular item. So again, we've got this side pane that gives us the ability to put images. I can add attachments. So maybe there's some warranty information or any information that I can apply against that particular inventory item. I can include those attachments here. So as I look through the item, you'll notice I've got my on-hand quantity, and this is what would be visible over to the salespeople working in CRM. They will see that on-hand quantity. And then I can see what I have on sales orders. Notice now, if I want to drill into this, if I look here, if all these sales orders get fulfilled, notice I'm going to run short at some point. So I can drill into these sales orders and start looking at what is the expected ship date of these orders. So I can drill in and see, all right, I've got some orders. Well, these aren't due till November, so I'm good with that one. I've got 500 that's going out on March 1st. So currently, it looks like I can satisfy at least my current orders, so that's good news. From the item, I can drill in, see what activities are coming up, and how that might affect our inventory. So here I'm looking at the actual details of the activity that I'm seeing here. Now, like I mentioned, I don't think I have a purchase order out here. Maybe I do. No, I don't. But they would have visibility to when that inventory, if I had a purchase order out here, that would be included in the list and bring my quantity back up. So we have an original on hand. We've got our sales order showing here, which is reducing our inventory down. We can see that we're going to go negative. If I had a purchase order in here, and we can add one later, it would increase, and we could see when that's expected. So your salespeople can go, you know what, we'll have that available on April 1st. We'll be able to get that installation done for you on this date, right? So that information is available and visible to them here. All right, so let me go back here. So we're looking at again, in the item, we have, the quantity on hand. We can always drill into the full details of the activity that are going on within a particular item. Another report that's helpful when we're looking at items and whoever's managing the inventory is the inventory availability report. And that gives me total visibility of our current on hands. I'm just going to run this without any filters on it or anything. I'll drill in or zoom in so you can actually see it. As an example, here's our tempered sapphire item, right? We can see all the information about the quantities that are affected for this particular item. So I can see I've got a quantity on hand of 865. I've got 950 on sales orders. And then I've got so it's showing my quantity available, right? So I know, hey, at some point this is going to go negative. I might want to drill into that like we just did and see what are the dates of these sales orders? What do I need to have to fulfill them? So this is really a great report to start with to review, hey, where am I going to go negative and what do I need to address immediately? And then it also shows the reorder point. So we can see that, hey, this this item has a reorder point of 500. Well, currently we're not reordering until it gets to that, those orders in November that are going to drive it below 500 and it's going to create that reorder position for us. So we have that visibility right here. So this is a great starting point report to kind of manage, hey, where am I going to fall negative and what items need to be addressed with the demand that we currently have in our system. And then down here, you can see we've got our lead time. So we can put in different lead times for particular items. I don't know if you guys do any serialized or lot tracking, but we have that functionality within Business Central to track things at a lot or serialized function. And then we have additional warehouse functions that we can do too. So this all drives our reorder points and our replenishment methodology. This is basically just on a reorder point quantity, but I just have it set to fixed order quantity, but we do have the ability to change it. Lot for lot might be on orders. So, hey, if I want to replenish at the order level, I can do that. Lot for lot based on what I'm pulling out, I'm putting back in, and then a maximum reorder quantity. So it's fairly driven just by quantities. I mean, that's the main functionality here, not so much replenishment by order, but you can, if you're doing a consistent replenishment, hey, I'm going to order this 5 times a month, we could just put in a recurring purchase order that would do that, or maybe a blanket order that we do releases from over a time period. So you've got options to do it that way too. So maybe not managing it through this method, but you could do a replenishment order. There is, and I don't have this turned on, but you can turn on this sales forecast for this item. And again, like I mentioned, this reviews the history of the item, and you can pick the time frame window, right? Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, and it will forecast out what your sales are expected. And then you can go in here and modify this. Hey, if I'm only expecting 2,000 units of sales in the next 3 months, which is down from 8,000. Well, maybe we need to adjust this at this point if it's kind of on the sunsetting of this product. So it will only, I believe the sales forecast only includes sales orders that have actually been booked as a sales order, not because an opportunity may not have created a sales order yet. So we function the forecast based on sales orders, assuming that they're actually going to do something. But again, not to say that we can't create reports that show potential sales from opportunities. I mean, that's again what we would use Power BI for, and like Janelle was showing, there's opportunities for creating those types of reports in CRM as well. So we looked at the inventory availability report, kind of the position of the item, the sales order that Janelle has entered. Let's jump over there and we'll just walk through the finish up or the processing of that sales order. From here, now we're ready to actually go ahead and move that sales order through. Here's our order. I'll pull it up. And again, we could, look at the different dates that are the requested delivery date. These are the types of things that, hey, we promised the customer we would install on this date. That would typically be the date that we would install. So this order is ready to move forward. We'll go ahead and post this. So at this point, see, the installer got back to us. They said that they've done all their work and he can do that. Actually, before that, I'll just show you that we can print off here. If we're pulling something out of inventory, we can pick or print a pick instruction, which is basically, this is my warehouse pick document, pull this stuff out of inventory and package it up, and we're getting ready to ship it out. So that's what this document would do for us. So released means, yep, we're going to go ahead and move forward. We can't make any changes to this order unless we change the status back to open. Release will also update our demand for that inventory. It will, kind of lock that in as reserved inventory now, so someone can't steal it with a different order. So that will basically, that's what release does. So we typically, now I can go right from open to post it, and I don't have to release it if I don't want to. If it's not part of our process, we can actually just run it through. So that's what I'm going to do here. So assuming that we already printed the pick list, we'll go ahead and post this. And there is a 2-step if you want. You can break up these 2 different steps. I can say, hey, I've shipped it. Maybe we need to wait and then invoice it later, or I can do that all in one step. So I'm going to go ahead and just ship and invoice the thing like we went through and processed the entire order through. So this creates that accounts receivable now. Now I've got a posted sales invoice on that customer's account. So prior to this, the customer really had no balance with us, but now we've invoiced them. They've got the accounts receivable out there for the 4,600. This is now in our financials as an accounts receivable. We've recorded the sale. Everything is all done. So, and we've now, once we've shipped that as well, now we've reduced that inventory out of our item as well. So I can go back and we'll take a look at that item real quick, and we'll see the activity from the issuance of that particular order. Here's our Sapphire. And notice that on-hand quantity has now dropped the 500 down to 365. So I can drill into that and see the full activities. Here's our shipment that we had. I've always got visibility to where that document, what activities took place to get us to this particular quantity. And I can drill into all that information. So we took the order created from CRM. We picked that up. We went through our distribution cycle of reviewing our inventory on hand with the inventory available report. We processed through the warehouse with the pick list, pulled the inventory, picked it, shipped it, and invoiced it. And now our customer is all set. The important part of that is understanding that we do have the ability to separate things out by warehouse. Like you're mentioning, you got multiple warehouses. We can create that visibility at each location. We can build in the lead times from our vendors so that when we're placing an order from a vendor, we have the ability to build in that lead time and determine when it's going to be brought in. I want to show you the requisition worksheet. So this is where we actually use those quantities to create purchase orders for inventory that might be dropping below. And I ran this earlier against our inventory, and you can see it pulled in our tempered sapphire item, and it shows that it's going to reorder and to what location. So our west location actually had a negative position, so it's trying to bring that up to 0. And then it also did our reorder quantity of 3,000 because that's what our standard reorder quantity was for this particular. So this would be the due date for the PO, correct? So this is set to 11/2, and this is demo dates, so it threw the dates way out there. The orders that this 3,000 needs to satisfy, they're not out there until sometime in November. So that's why it's putting this purchase order way out there. And you can see that it already applied the vendor, right? So it's going to create one purchase order for that vendor. And from this process, I can go ahead and create that purchase order. So I can actually accept the actions and it will. This is basically just pulling from the item card. So if I included that in the actual cost of the item when I brought it in, that's what this is really pulling from. But if you're using landed cost, that would be a different unit cost that we would be addressing. So this unit cost is just the item unless we manually built in the landed cost function of it. Landed cost, I basically will apply that invoice from the transportation company against the receipt that we had for these items. So let's say we brought these 3,000 in on a receipt. We would charge and increase the cost for those items by that invoice cost, and we can level that by either quantity or even distribution, however you want to distribute that cost against the receipt. Let's say it was a $5,000 cost and we're going to spread it across these 3,000 items. It would just distribute that to the unit and apply that to those costs, so that when we're doing our margin calculations, it's looking at that fully loaded cost. So this process basically, like I mentioned, allows us to review the on-hand quantities and then create purchase orders based on what the system feels that we need to create. Now, we don't have to create them from here. If we look at this, maybe we just go, you know what, I'm going to just order 5,000. I can either, manually override this and just say we're bulking up. I know of a different order that we need to accomplish. I can do that too. So you can manually change these things and then go ahead and create the purchase order right from here. So I could process this through, it creates the purchase order and then runs through. So let's carry out our action messages. Let's see what we get here. I can print the orders and click OK. So here's my purchase order for that. Here's the 5,000, there's the 25. I had no cost, so it's a pretty cheap one. But you can see it's going to our vendor, consolidated onto one purchase order. Again, if we had lead times in there and everything, that would have been configured. So this purchase order is now in the system. It's out there on our worldwide importers. And then we can look at that item again. So now we can go back to our item and we can see that supply coming in at that time frame. So we'll look at the on hand here. Actually, we can look at on purchase orders. Here's our on purchase order quantity. So again, if we look at those available quantities for this particular item, we can see when to expect. All right, so right here, we can see that 5,000 is coming in on 11/2, right? So that's being satisfied there. So this gives us visibility to the actual trend of when our inventory is going to be available or when it might drive negative, like we're seeing here. I can email any documents from the system. So here's the one, has no amount on it, but from here I can print and send, so I can email it. I can attach it as a PDF, send it off, and it will pull in the contact record. I don't know if I have a contact on this. I think I do. Yeah, Tony Road. So it emails it right from the system here. In the vendor record, so if we do like ACH payments for the vendor, we would have that information in here. So we've got bank accounts, and this is where we would set up that bank account information. So you put in all their branch number, the transit, which is the routing number, the bank account. So populating that information gives us the ability to do the ACH to the vendor. For customers, you just need, again, to add that account information for them. So hopefully this was helpful. I know I've got a 10:30, so I know we are a little bit over, but if there's any other things that come up that you can think of and you want us to kind of get back together, we can certainly do that. Or, I know you're probably work with Paul on next steps here, but hopefully this gives you a good insight as to the overview of CRM as well as Business Central and how we can, satisfy some of the activities that you guys are doing. Yeah, it's all SaaS. I mean, there is an on-premise option, but what we've shown you today is all SaaS. Yeah, Business Central has the ability to do expense reports and bring those in and pay employees just like vendors, but they're employee expenses. So there is that functionality in Business Central.
I'll send you a link to an overview It's a company called InsightWorks. They're a third-party independent software vendor that we partner with, and they've got kind of best-in-class warehouse insight or warehouse management tool, which includes the barcode scanning. So I'll send you some information on that if you want to have a quick look.